So today the topic for discussion is we are going to discuss on the concept of differences between stock and flow. Okay, difference between stock and flow. What is the meaning of stock and what is the meaning of flow? First, you have to understand from the basis of meaning. Okay, so let's have the three important distinctions: basis, okay, for stock and flow. First, with respect to meaning, stock means it is nothing but it refers to that variable which is measured at a particular point of time. Okay, so stock, okay, is a variable which is measured at a particular point of time. So it is a time based. Okay, it is measured at a particular point of time. Whereas flow, when I talk about flow, it is referring to a variable, even that refers to a variable which is being measured at a particular period of time. Okay, so it is a variable, okay, which is measured at a particular period of time. Okay, there is a difference. In a point of time na, at a period of time. So that is a key word to be understood. Okay, it is referring to a point of time. At what point? Okay, it is being measured. It is referring to a particular period of time. That is, it's a time based, whereas it is not time based. Okay, that is something you have to understand. The second point is about the time dimension. Okay, we are going to see from the time dimension. Stock is not time dimension because it is measured at a particular, okay, point of time. So what we are saying is stock is not time dimensional as it is measured at a particular point of time. Okay, so it is not time dimensional. Okay, so stock is not referring to a time dimensional concept because it is measured at a particular what point of time. Whereas when I talk about flow, flow is time dimensional. Okay, it is time dimensional. What is flow? Flow is time dimensional because it is measured from a period of time. Okay, since it is measured from particular period of time. Period naale time based na. Any doubt with respect to the first 2 point? Stock and flow. Any doubt? Okay. The third one is about its nature. Okay. It is static. Okay. It is static in concept. Which one? Your stock. Okay. It is static, whereas your flow is dynamic. Okay. It is dynamic. Dynamic is it keeps changing. Static is it remains constant. Able to understand? Static na nalaya irukkuradhu. That means it is a predefined, fixed. Okay, this is what. Whereas your dynamic is it keeps changing. Okay, dynamic will keep changing, whereas static is it remains same. Now let's take the example. Okay, example for stock and flow. The examples are as follows: your wealth, distance between Delhi to Chennai. Okay, so distance from Delhi to Chennai. Okay, and then your money supply, about the supply of money. Then the stock of water in your tank. Okay, so water level in the tank. Then the bank deposits. Okay, your bank deposits and population on a particular date. Okay, population on particular date. இப்போ இது எல்லாமே என்னது ஸ்டாக்குக்கு எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொல்றோம். ஹவு கம் wealth, that shows like how wealthy am I. Okay, that means at that point of time, once upon a time we used to say, okay, I was living very luxurious, but now I have lost all my wealth. So we are comparing the amount of wealth what we have today with the what amount we had earlier. So it is something which we use it for comparison. Okay, and moreover it is at a particular point of time. 10 years before I was having 1 crore in my bank account. Now I have only 1 lakh in my bank account. So I am referring to a particular point of time 10 years ago. Then distance from Delhi to Chennai. So here if you see it is constant. Okay, the kilometers will remain static, it never changes. Okay, so kilometer between Delhi to Chennai or any other, okay, states will remain fixed. Then the level of water in a water tank. For example, if your water tank is having a capacity of 20 liters, then it cannot hold beyond 20 liters. It is a fixed one. Bank deposits. Okay, so from time to time or from period to period, the bank deposits will also keep, okay, changing. So population of a particular date. All these are the examples for stock. Okay, so it remains static. On the other hand, we are going to discuss about the what flow. When I talk about flow, the examples are pocket allowance. Okay, that is your pocket money. And then we talk about the speed of vehicle. For example, it says 80 kilometer per hour. So it is time based. Okay, speed of any vehicle is a time based. Then the flow of water from a tank. Okay, flow of water from tank. For example, when a rainy season happens, you'd have seen Metur Dam has reached its top level. So the government would have decided to release those extra waters and it will come in one speed. Okay, they'll say like per hour in this much speed it's going to come. Then they may reduce the speed. So that means it is time based. Okay, so the flow of water is an example for time based. And then demand supply. If you talk about money supply here it is a demand supply. And then about your savings, consumption, expenditure and savings. Okay, about the consumption, expenditure and savings. So these are all examples of what flow. Okay, these are some of the examples of flow. Any doubt with respect to stock and flow? Any doubt with respect to stock and flow, Kana? Okay. The next concept which I want to discuss is, let me make it very simple today because as I took much of your time. Okay, probably this one concept I discuss it. Probably tomorrow I'll have one more session for you all to compensate today's the time what got wasted. Okay, so The next one which I would like to touch upon is your types of goods in an economy. Okay, types of goods in the economy, right? So totally, if you see, there are four different types of goods. One, we have something called final goods. Second, we have got intermediate goods. Okay, intermediate goods. Third, we have got consumption bar consumer goods. Okay, the third one is all about consumption bar consumer goods, and the fourth one we talk about capital goods. What is the fourth one? The fourth one is capital goods. So all these things comes under what? It comes under types of goods. So when I talk about types of goods, how many goods are there? Four types of goods are there. What are the types of goods? One is your final goods, intermediate goods, consumption or consumer goods, and last but not least is your capital goods. So now we'll discuss about the final goods and one more concept, and then we'll stop it for the day. Okay. I hope you are taking the notes parallelly, or you want me to hold on for the notes. You want some time to take on the notes? Okay, right. Good. So now let us discuss about your final goods. What is final goods all about? The word just says final goods is nothing but these are those goods which is finally produced and ready for the usage by the final users. Okay, so final goods are nothing but goods which are produced and ready. Okay, so final goods are those goods which are produced and they are made ready for use by their final users. So by the final users. Here final users can be of two types. Okay, we say final users, right? So final users are of two types. One, it could be a consumer itself, or there is, and the second one will be producers. So final goods are nothing but it is those goods which will be used by the people. That is, it will be used by the final users. That is called final goods, and this could be done by two people. One, it could be done by the consumer itself, or it could be done by the producers. Now let us see what is who is a consumer and who is a producer. Okay, and how they consume this final goods as goods which is used for them. Okay, so consumers are the final users of. Okay, so consumers are the final users of clothes. Just some example. Okay, clothes, shoes, food, etc. For example, I want to purchase some dresses for my, okay, weekend, or I'm going to travel, so I want to purchase some new dresses and I'm going to wear it. So I am the consumer, so I am purchasing some clothes and I'm purchasing some shoes and other food items like snacks and all. So I am going to consume it, or my family members are going to consume it. So it is called consumer goods. So that means that is a final goods. Okay, for example, I have two options. I can get a ready made shirt or a t shirt, or I can just buy the material and then I may ask one particular tailor to stitch a dress for me in my own style. So whatever it is, if I'm going to purchase the fabric, the cloth, and I'm going to do the stitching, then I am consuming it. Okay, from one particular texture to another texture, I am consuming it. So I am going to be the consumer of that particular final goods. I am converting the goods into the final goods, and I am consuming it for myself. So that means I am the consumer, so it becomes a final goods for me. On the other hand, producers. Okay, the second pattern is producers. Who are producers? Producers are the final users of plant and machinery. Okay, producers are the final users of plant and machinery. அப்படின்னா என்ன சார்? Say for example, I am a producer. That means I am a manufacturer. I am a businessman. I am doing some business. Okay, for which I need some machinery. Say for example, I have, okay, a small stationery shop where I have all my materials available for the display, which is going to be purchased by the consumers. So whatever the goods that I kept, it is in final goods. But I have to bill those items when the consumer purchases it from my business unit, for which I need something called as a printer, a computer, etc. So what happens? I am purchasing or I am consuming, okay, some machinery, right? So producer, as a producer of a particular good, okay, I am purchasing some plant and machinery. Or let me put other way, okay, I am a tailor. Okay, I am a tailor having a tailoring shop. I am going to convert all the fabrics into a, okay, designer coat or a shirt, or okay, whatever the material that is asked by the particular customer, I am going to convert it. So how I'm going to convert it? By using a machinery, tailoring machine. So what I'm doing it, I would have purchased that particular tailoring machine from someone. So that means the tailoring machine would have been a finished product, which I'm going to purchase it from someone, and with the help of that particular machinery, I'm going to do my production activity. So, as a producer, I have purchased the particular machinery from someone who has manufactured it, and I'm going to use that machinery to do the production activity in which I am going to carry on my business. அப்போ ஒரு டெய்லரா நான் எதுல பண்ணுவேன்? டெய்லரிங் மிஷின்ல பண்ணோம். அப்போ டெய்லரிங் மிஷினை எங்கேன்னு பண்ணியிருப்பேன்? அந்த டெய்லரிங் மிஷினை ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ற அந்த மேனுஃபேக்சரிங் கிட்ட வாங்கியிருப்பேன். I hope you all aware one popular brand called Usha. Okay, Usha is one of the popular brand. So it was producing all type of electronic and electrical gadgets like fan, okay, and then iron box, this particular one, okay, that's called your machineries, okay, which converted. So even the sewing machines are there done by Ushas, and even there are many, okay, companies which is producing the tailoring machine. So I am purchasing from someone. For that particular person, the tailoring machine is a finished product. So I am buying that finished goods, which I'm going to use it for my production process. What I'm going to produce, I'm going to stitch the shirts, pants, trousers, whatever it is. Okay, so that's called production. So producers are also consuming, okay, the goods, and that is what we say it as. Okay, consumers are also consuming the goods, and producers are also consuming the goods, and this comes under final goods. Any doubt in this context? Any doubt in this context? The next important thing is expenditure on the final consumer goods by the households. Okay, expenditure on the final consumer goods by the household. Okay, by whom? By the household is called final goods. Okay, it is called what goods? It is called final goods. Okay, that's what we say. Expenditure on the final consumer goods by the household is called final, not sorry, final goods. It's called, okay, final consumption expenditure. I'm sorry. It is called as final consumption expenditure. Why? Because household are the one who is going to consume it. ஓகே, இப்போ நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி எனக்கு ஷர்ட்ஸ் வேணும், பேண்ட் வேணும், நான் வாங்குறேன். ஓகே, ரெடிமேடாக வாங்குறேன். அப்போது என்னதுக்கு? நான் ஒரு ஹவுஸ் ஹோல்டு என்னோட பர்பஸ்க்கு என்னோட கன்சம்ஷனுக்கு வாங்குறேன். அப்போது அது நான் என்ன பண்ணுறேன்? ஒரு எக்ஸ்பெண்டிச்சரை இன்கர் பண்ணுறேன். ஸோ எனி எக்ஸ்பெண்டிச்சர் which has been spent on the final consumer goods by whom? By the household. We call them as final consumption expenditure. The next point is expenditure. Okay, expenditure on final goods by producers. By whom? By producers, because we are taken only two categories over here. One is a consumer and other is a producer. So if the amount is being sent by the consumer, okay, then it is household. We call them as consumer expenditure or consumption expenditure. Whereas if the same expenditure on the final goods is being spent by the producers, okay, is called, what it is called as? It is called as investment expenditure. What expenditure is that? Investment expenditure. Because producer are manufacturers, அப்போ business people. அப்போ business people வாங்குற அந்த assets, மிஷினரியாக இருக்கட்டும், ஓகே, இல்லை எனி அசெட்டாக இருக்கும், அது எல்லாமே என்ன கான்ட்ரிபியூட் ஆகும்? இட் வில் ஃபார்ம் பார்ட் ஆஃப் த கேபிட்டல். ஸோ கேபிட்டல் இஸ் த அமௌண்ட் இன்வெஸ்டட் இன் த பிஸ்னஸ். ஸோ அக்கௌண்டிங் கான்செப்ட் பிரகாரம் பார்த்தா, okay, you are spending some money in the name of expenditure, okay, on what? On some final goods. According to someone it is a final goods. And how you are getting these goods? Okay, expenditure on the final goods by way of producers. Okay, it has been done by the producer. That is called as an investment expenditure. What do we call them as? What is the term we give it as? Investment expenditure. Most important concept. Expenditure on final goods is declared by a formula. Okay, there is a formula. Expenditure on final goods. Because we are still now in what? Out of four goods, we are now discussing only about the final goods. So let's discuss what is this expenditure. That is amount spent on the final goods. It is nothing but it is a sum total of your consumption expenditure. Okay, your consumption expenditure plus the amount of investment expenditure. Okay, investment expenditure. So sum total of these two expenditure, consumption expenditure and investment expenditure, is what we call them as your expenditure on final goods. Because we say that final goods is being used by two members. One is your consumers and other one is a producer. So when a household is spending the money on the final goods, we call them as a consumption expenditure. Whereas if the same amount is being spent by the producers in order to produce the goods, we call those amounts spent as investment expenditure. So end of the day, when you add these two expenditures, consumption expenditure and your investment expenditure, that will give you the expenditure on final goods. Can you able to understand? Any doubts up to this? Okay. Now the last segment for the, probably I'll just touch upon it. That's nothing but different types of final goods. Okay, let's see about different types of final goods. With this, we'll stop at today's session. Okay, that is called different type of final goods. As you know, okay, final goods concept, we have two members. One is your consumer, and other one is your producer, right? Am I right? So consumer and producer. Okay. So let's see from the viewpoint of consumers and viewpoint of producers. First one, it is used for final consumption because household consumption expenditure வந்தாலே யார் யூஸ் பண்றாங்க? Households are using it. Okay, it is used for final consumption. Whereas இங்க யாரு? Producers. அப்போ ப்ரொடியூசர் என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க? அந்த பர்టిక్యులர் ஐட்டம் வச்சு இன்னும் ஃபர்தரா ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க. Okay, so they are used for investment. Okay, used for what purpose? For investment purpose. So consumers are using it, the final goods, for the final consumption, whereas investors, that is the producers, are using it for the investment purpose. Any doubt in the first point? Okay, here example you see. Okay, purchase of goods by, okay, you're purchasing the goods by customer. Okay, purchase of goods by customer for use, that is for their use. A customer is purchasing from us for their self consumption, that is called as a, okay, type of final goods, okay, or final consumption. On the other hand, by the producers, okay, purchase of goods by business, okay, purchase of goods, okay, by whom? By the business, to be used as, okay, to be used as fixed asset. So how it is being used? To be used as a fixed asset. Because you said very clearly it is an investments. So investment என்னது? It is an asset. So அப்போ ஒரு fixed assets. புரியுதா? Okay, just a minute கண்ணா. ஒரு நிமிஷம். ஒரு நிமிஷம். Right. Just a minute. Yeah. So purchase of goods by customer for use, whereas here purchase of the goods by the business to be used as a fixed assets, that is done by the producers. Okay, that's why we say it's an investment expenditure. And then the third point over here is example. Okay, let's see the example. Computer purchased by the customer to be used at home. Okay, computer purchased by customer for, okay, usage at home. Just a minute. Okay, so purchase of what? Purchase of a computer, okay, to be used at home is a classic example for your consumption expenditure. Okay, so that is the first point that you have to keep in your mind. I'm making sense to you now. Okay, hello, hello, just a minute. Let me share my screen. Got disturbed in between. Okay, network issue. I'm sorry, there was a network issue. Let me, okay, let me screen just a minute. Is my screen is visible? Just confirm it. 1 minute. Is my screen is visible? Okay, so example here is a computer is being purchased by the customer for using it at home for the home usage. It is a consumption expenditure. On the other hand, okay, over here the example computer purchased by office, computer purchased by office to be used by employees. So in an office, computers would have been purchased by the organization, which the employees are using it, and what they does, they use some productive activity, they do some task, they provide some services. By doing that, the organization will earn some revenue. So that's been considered as an asset, right? That's been considered as an asset. Am I right? Am I right? So that's what they say. This is based on the consumer's point of view. That is based from the producer's point of view. The last point which you have to understand under these two concepts is this is also known as consumption goods. Okay, also known as what goods? It is also known as consumption goods. In the same way, even this has got another name also known as capital goods. Okay, also known as capital goods. The reason why you use the word capital is because it is done for the investment purpose. So that's why we call it as a capital goods. So today we just discuss only few concepts. We discuss something about the differences between a stock and the flow with a detailed explanations. Then we discuss about the types of goods. Basically, we have four different types of goods. Among those four different types of goods, we focused only on the first type, that is called as a final goods alone. Then in detail, we have discussed what is final goods is all about. Final goods are nothing but it is a goods which are being produced, okay, and ready for the use by the final users. When I say final users, it is considering both the people, that is your consumer as well as the producer. Then we discussed about the consumer, okay, what they do with this final goods, okay, or how they call this as a final goods. The consumers are the final users of these clothes or shoes, whatever we purchase it for our self consumption. Producers are making use of this goods as an investment to build their private profits. So example, purchase of machinery. And expenditure on the final consumption goods by the household, we call them as a final consumption expenditure. What expenditure it is? Final consumption expenditure. Whereas the amount spent, that is fine expenditure on final goods by the producer, is we denote as investment expenditure. There's an important formula to be kept in your mind. Combination of these two expenditure, that is consumption expenditure plus your investment expenditure, will lead to final goods expenditure or expenditure on final goods. Then the different types of final goods on the base of consumer point of view and from the viewpoint of your producers, we discuss it. So consumer use for the final consumption, whereas their producer use these goods for their investment purpose. Second point we discuss is purchase of the goods by the customer for their own use is what we call them as a consumption consumer, whereas purchase of the goods by a business to be used as a fixed asset is called as a investment type. And then example is The computer what we purchase for our domestic usage, for our home edition or home purpose, is what we call them as, very simple. Okay, that's called consumption expenditure. Whereas the amount that what we spend, okay, by the office, so concept computer which has been purchased by the organization and that is to be used by the employees, we call those expenditures as what type of expenditure? Investment expenditure. What type of expenditure it is? Investment expenditure. So the other name of consumption expenditure is consumption goods. Okay, so they are also known as consumption goods, whereas your investment goods is otherwise known as capital goods. So with this, we'll stop it here. The rest will be continued in tomorrow's session, and day after tomorrow also we'll try to have a session. Right? Is it clear to you all? Up to this, if you have any doubt, let me know. Do you have any doubt up to this context or concept? Right. So I'll be posting this also in our YouTube channel quite shortly, and I'll be sharing the link to you in our group. You can share among your friends, and also you can ask them to join up. Once again, I'm extremely sorry for having a delay session and just giving you a only short span, a half an hour. I just give a class today. The class has been run only for a half an hour today. Okay, because I was not in a position to avoid the call as it was a very emergency and they need of the hour. They need some support, so I was about to help them out. Okay, but I ensure that next time it will not happen like this. Okay, so make sure that you understood this concept, you take the notes properly, maintain it properly. So every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, that 7 o'clock is going to be the class for our economics, and every Monday to either Friday or Saturday, we'll be having our accountancy session. Sunday there'll be definitely a test. Okay, so please do not skip or do not say any excuses. Okay, for test, because you're not writing the test for the sake of me. You're going to take up the test for your self development, for your betterment. I'm not going to gain anything by conducting a test for you, nor I'm going to lose anything, okay, by conducting a test to you. I'm only going to assess your understanding levels. That's it. Okay. So if you're really interested to take a test, take them. Or if you're not interested, then don't disturb those people who are taking the test. Okay. So I don't want you people, okay, to distract or to disturb them, whoever is taking the test. So it is better you also take up the test. Okay. Thank you all. Welcome. 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 Thank you.